So there'll be like cold weather survival. Nikita told me a long time ago that he said there'll be a day that players will prioritize beanies over level 5 helmets and armored helmets. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Ще к баригам, короче. Потом по бабам. Вон он, блядь, ебать его!
Yeah, I don't think any bigger studios would ever like want to take a risk trying to make a Tarkov competitor. Just because I think they kind of understand like how complicated of a game Tarkov is. And like the task to try and like recreate what Tarkov is already doing is like pretty big, because if you look at Tarkov from like a very narrow viewpoint, it seems like it's a pretty simple game in, you know, a lot of rights, but it's really not. Like EFT is incredibly complicated with so many underlying features and mechanics and systems that, you know, most gamers wouldn't even like recognize to begin with. Ooh, nice, we needed that. And, you know, I think the task of like trying to recreate EFT is just something that not a lot of developers, like at least AAA developers, are going to risk their time doing, because they know they can put in like half, if not like 1/3 of the effort in making some like generic ass like game, and, you know, make just as much, if not more money. Because at the end of the day, like most big companies that make video games nowadays, they don't like have developers that are passionate about like the game that they're making and the product that they're really working on. They're really just concerned about selling something to gamers and selling a product to people. That's what they're really focused on. Maybe not so much the developers, but, you know, whoever's like the head of the studio, the investors, stuff like that. That's why most AAA games that you see are kind of just like shit, because, you know, they just don't really care. There's no drive. There's no passion there. You know, it's all about monetary gain. Well, offlaners, bro. I mean, EFT is always going to have players. I feel like a lot of people think that the way that EFT is going, it's going to turn a lot of people off and it's going to kill their game. It's just not going to happen, bro. EFT is a cult classic game and it has a hardcore community. The only reason why people aren't playing right now is because people know that the wipe and the patch is probably soon. And this has happened every single time the game has been around this time. When people know there's an update coming out soon, when people know that there's going to be a wipe soon, they stop playing. That's how it's always been. The game, as soon as the next update comes out, even if it's even harder and it alienates more players based on the new features and mechanics and balancing that BSG has implemented that patch, I guarantee you they're going to break their concurrent player count. They're going to break copies sold and clicks on the website again, like they have every single time they've released a major content patch. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's like people only stop playing Tarkov, not because it's hard, it's because they've done everything. They don't want to fucking do the same shit again. You know, that's usually what it comes down to. People just aren't really interested in, you know, playing when they know all of their progress is going to be gone in a certain amount of time. That's literally been the trend since this game has came out. Well, they're working on a lot of that spaghetti code, I think. A lot of their core underlying changes. Like today, I mean, I've only been on for like maybe an hour, but this is probably the smoothest I think EFT has ever felt, just in terms of like people and fights and stuff. Like past few fights I had, it felt so butter, like super smooth. Like even looking at AI move around, like they're not like doing the jitter anymore and shit. They're like moving real nice, and you know, I think they're really starting to focus on those things for sure. I don't think they'll have any problem maintaining full lobbies, bro. I mean, I'm still hearing players in this match, and you know, there's people there. You know what I'm saying? People are playing. Like I said, Tarkov is kind of like a DayZ in the sense that it has a very specific gameplay loop in gameplay, I guess, that no other game can offer. And because of that, people are always going to stick around and play it. And the only time that players will kind of, you know, fluctuate is in between updates and, you know, wipes. Or if there's a wipe soon, that's usually when the player count will always drop. But that's just that like I said, that's like been the trend. That's how it's always been. Like the thing is too, with like the people who say they would stop playing Tarkov if like this feature hit or if they changed this or whatever, Those people would like cry and whine about it, like on Twitter or something, for like a week. They would go hop on a Twitch stream and watch their favorite Tarkov streamer having a good time with the new features, and then they'd hop back in and play because they realize, well, fuck, all right, it's not gonna change. You know, I'm just gonna have to get used to it. And that's kind of what happens. Is, you know, a lot of these fucking Tarkov gamers like realize, like, oh well, if I want to keep having fun in this game and, you know, keep playing it because it is fun, I'm gonna have to, you know, adapt and, you know, adjust my play style, or, you know, not utilize the thing that BSG changed, or, you know, whatever. That's usually just kind of how it goes. And that's happened plenty of times with like a lot of people in my Twitch chat. I've seen it in other people's Twitch chat. You know, people always say like, oh, if they change this, I'll quit the game forever, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you'll come back. Like you will be back. Because the thing is with EFT, there's not really a game that you can go to that's like Tarkov. There's no game like Tarkov. You can say Hunt Showdown. You can say all these other like kind of like in-out like kind of extraction games like Cycle the Frontier, but none of those games are EFT. They don't have the same universe. They don't have the same gameplay. They don't have the same gunplay. They don't have the same looting mechanics. They don't have the same developers. They don't have the same pretty much everything. It's really its own experience. And you know, even if a game has a similar gameplay loop, like the extraction style like gameplay loop, it's not Tarkov. You know, it's still not EFT. It still doesn't have scavs. Still doesn't have Killa. You know, there's not our Lord and Savior Nikita. You know what I mean? None of that's there. And like that is the stuff that I know Tarkov fans like, is they love the lore and the universe of this game, and they love the community, and they appreciate the developers in that sense. So, you know, that's why like when people say they're gonna quit, it's like, nah, you'll like go play the cycle for a week and then you'll come back, because you know that Tarkov's like goated and, you know, like no other game out there. Oh yeah, man. I mean, every single AAA game after 2013 was basically a scam. Most of them, not all of them. But anything with like a big, robust, you know, like E3 trailer and shit. It's just, again, I blame DayZ Standalone for that, because the entire gaming industry realized they could make hundreds of millions of dollars off of consumers by hyping up unfinished things and selling them the unfinished thing. That's what happened with DayZ Standalone. They sold 6 million copies in a month for $30 a copy, when they had maybe put less than a year of development time into the actual game itself. You know, we started getting all of these like low fucking quality AAA games that really had no substance because they were hardly developed and they were just hyped up and promoted to gamers to sell. That's it. I mean, not all consumers, but consumers in general are usually pretty stupid because they don't know what they're buying. They're... I would say that the only misrepresentation of EFT to consumers would actually be from content creators. And what I mean by that is that, you know, you got your like Giga Chad content creators, they play all day, 100 millions of rubles, they do everything and all they do is PvP. And that's like, you know, their main thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, PvP in this game is super fun. I'm not trying to like knock on that, but just because they play this game in that specific way due to the lack of long-term features as well as lack of refinement and balancing around those features, gave people a false idea of what Tarkov was. And that wasn't because BSG was marketing it incorrectly. It's just because of the content creators who are playing the game that specific way, representing the game or the product to people in that way, making them assume that that's the way the game is supposed to be played, and that's the point of the game. Because if an experienced veteran player is playing it that way, that must be the goal, or like the end game. You know what I mean? You guys should probably understand what I'm saying here. And so, you know, because of that, I think like past couple years, EFT's community has very much been like divided because of the misunderstanding of where the game is going and what the direction of the game has always been. And, you know, time will tell as BSG starts to update things and really change the game, because that's the only thing that changes the play styles of the players. Is games mechanics themselves have to change and get updated and rebalanced and yada yada. What about the DLC for EOD owners? I mean, that's still going to happen. They've already talked about the DLC quite a lot. It's going to be the town map, the sniper DLC, which is a complete rework of long-range ballistics, making it like ace ballistics and Arma. So it's like super, super, super realistic ballistics. Ghillie suits and like different types of bolt rifles and snipers and stuff. And then there's the... what is that other update? The bunker update, which is basically like the last DLC for Tarkov, which will take place in the mountain region of Norvinsk, which will be in like secret military bunkers and shit. And the lore for that DLC is supposed to tie into Russia 2028. So there'll be like cold weather survival. Nikita told me a long time ago that he said there'll be a day that players will prioritize beanies over level 5 helmets and armored helmets. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, God, whoa, what the fuck? Dedicated 5.56 can. The new Dead Air Sierra 6 or Sierra 5, whatever the hell it's called, is literally 4.556. I wish I had one. I just got the Sandman K with a 5.56 end cap, which has been really nice. But the Sierra 6, it looks pretty rad, man.